Hello and welcome back to our channel, where we explore King Arthur's legend in this three-part video series. In order to understand the legend of King Arthur, we must first delve into the history of Britain during the early medieval period. This was a time of great turmoil as the Roman Empire had withdrawn, leaving behind a power vacuum that was being filled by various groups, including the Saxons. It's during this time that we find the first mention of Arthur in historical sources. The earliest source is the History of the Britons, a book written by a monk named Nennius in the 9th century, several centuries after Arthur's supposed lifetime. Nennius describes Arthur as a warrior who fought against the Saxons and won 12 battles. He also mentions Arthur's famous sword, Caliburn, which is likely the inspiration for Excalibur. However, Nennius does not provide much detail about Arthur's life or his accomplishments, and it's difficult to separate fact from fiction in his account. Other early sources that mention Arthur, such as the Annales Cambriae and Historia Britannicum, provide even less detail. It wasn't until the 12th century that the legend of King Arthur began to take shape in its modern form. This was due in large part to the works of Geoffrey of Monmouth, a Welsh cleric who wrote a book called Historia Regum Britannia, or the History of the Kings of Britain. In this book, Geoffrey provides a more detailed account of Arthur's life and achievements. He describes Arthur as a great king who conquered much of Europe and established a golden age of chivalry and justice in Britain. He also introduces the character of Merlin, the wise and powerful wizard who serves as Arthur's advisor. Geoffrey's book became hugely popular and was widely read throughout Europe. It helped to cement the legend of King Arthur in the popular imagination and inspired countless other writers and artists to create their own versions of the story. But just how much of Geoffrey's account is based on historical fact? It's difficult to say. While some elements of his story may be based on real events and people, such as the Roman general Ambrosius Aurelianus and the Saxon leader Cerdic, many of the details are clearly fictional. For example, there is no evidence to suggest that Arthur ever conquered Europe, or that he had a wizard as his advisor. Despite the lack of concrete historical evidence, the legend of King Arthur continues to captivate our imaginations and inspire us to this day. In part 2 of this series, we'll explore how the legend of King Arthur continued to evolve over the centuries, and how new characters and stories were added to the mix. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.